Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Tuesday, May 7th, 2024. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. Got a great show planned for you today. Tons of recruiting info out there. Dave and I really focused on the team yesterday, running backs in particular. Today, we are going to get you all caught up on recruiting, and there's plenty to cover. The Dean, Bill Kurlick, will be here with bells on. Mark Porter is on the road, as he is wont to be during this time of year, but he will do his best to report to us what's going on as he traipses the entire state of Ohio for these college football showcases. But first, let's pay for some bills here. We start that with Factor Meals. Warmer, sunnier days are calling. Believe it or not, the sun will eventually shine in Ohio, though I cannot prove that. Fuel up for them these sunnier days with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals in time for summer thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. No matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. With 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you'll always have new flavors to explore. Crush your wellness goals this month in May with dietitian-approved meals and ingredients you can trust. Keep the kitchen time to a minimum. Factor meals are ready in 2 minutes. No shopping, no prepping, cooking, or cleaning up. Head to factormeals.com/bucknuts50 and use that code bucknuts50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code bucknuts50 at factormeals.com/bucknuts50 to get our 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. As I welcome in the Dean and the Grand Poobah, who is on the road, and we will get to all that. Very interesting weekend from a recruiting standpoint, Bill, and that I wasn't sure it was going to be a huge weekend, and then lo and behold, quality over quantity. Not that many visitors, but some very key visitors, and the guy I want to start with is the number one offensive lineman in the country, David Sanders, out of North Carolina. He had already visited once. He was back. Tom Loy had something to say about this. I want you guys to listen to this, Bill, and you can put it in context for us.
David Sanders, who visited Columbus this weekend. This was, as I just said, his second trip there this spring, so things must be going pretty well for the Buckeyes. Where do they currently stand in this race?
The buzz around Ohio State is very real, Emily. My crystal ball prediction has been on Clemson since March 27th, and I still feel good about it. But if I'm picking a school to upset them and a school that's the biggest threat to potentially make me change that pick down the road, it's absolutely the Buckeyes. These stealth, behind-the-scenes, under-the-radar visits that don't really leak until a player arrives on campus, it's something it's worth keeping an eye on, watching, especially when that's exactly what occurred and you have all your family on campus there with you in Columbus. So this is a big deal. Ryan Day, Chip Kelly, Justin Fry, they're all doing excellent work here. I think people need to take Ohio State very seriously when it comes to the pursuit of David Sanders. So watch out for the Buckeyes.
William, at the risk of people calling off work to start drinking early today because we're talking about an offensive lineman of this ilk. We've talked about guys of this ilk before, Mark. Your thoughts on what Tom Loy said, if you could put in context the weekend and the fact that it wasn't necessarily the most well-publicized arrival or visit?
Well, first of all, Mark, you're looking good in the sun there.
Yeah.
Very. I don't know exactly what school you're at right now, but it's sunny there. That's good. Sunny. Actually, kind of sunny outside my office here, too, in beautiful Lewis Center, Ohio. But as far as David Sanders, I'm going to go back. Some people felt like there was basically no chance for Ohio State to get David Sanders a number of weeks ago, a month ago, 2 months ago, whatever. That changed. It started to change when he made it to Ohio State for the spring game. And I did an article at that point saying I thought Ohio State helped themselves enough that they were arguably in his top 3 at that point. And there has been talk about him possibly getting back to Ohio State in May. And actually, I also talked to his high school coach who said that, it could happen, but it doesn't have to happen. He's been there and he's already got an official visit set there. But again, it would be good if it did happen. And it did happen. It happened this past weekend. He was with family. Good thing there too. Positive. And I continue to think, probably even more so now, like I said after the spring game, that Ohio State is in his top 3. Tennessee and Clemson are up there. Ohio State, I think, is the other school right now. I think that, in my opinion, would be his top 3 right now, not necessarily in any particular order. I think it's going to come down to the official visits. I don't rule out Alabama or Georgia. South Carolina is his other official visit, but he's got those official visits all right in a row in June. Ohio State, Tennessee, Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, and it'll come down. I can tell you that there's not a high degree of confidence right now from the Georgia standpoint, but they're getting an official visit, so we'll see what happens. And again, I think it's going to come down to those official visits. And like Tom said, Ryan Day, Justin Fry, and Chip Kelly are doing a great job with David Sanders. The whole staff is. They're right there now, absolutely in contention.
Bill, I didn't necessarily plan to take it this way, but as we were doing this, I just realized something. Currently, Bryce Underwood is the top-rated player in the class of 2025. Is that right, or 2026? I'm getting confused here.
In
myself.
2025, and I think you're going to get it.
Correct.
David Sanders is.
It goes either way. Depends where you look. But he's 2, and then people know who's 3. Devin Sanchez, Naeem Offord's up there, Darkarian Moore is up there, and Tavian St. Clair. If Bryce Underwood slips at all here, there's a chance Ohio State could get the top 5 players on the board, Bill. Did you look at that, and do you think that's possible, and have I just lost my mind?
I can't say I really thought a lot about that, but as you bring it up, that's not out of the question. I mean, that would be maybe, gosh, I've done this 36, 37 years, whatever. That'd be the coup of my entire career doing this. Never has that happened, I'm sure, and it's not out of the question. It's
really not out of the question, and I know, like, we go over to. It's called Bucknuts. It's not called Buck Rational Observer. And the Michigan lurkers who are still on here watching what we learned from after the Michigan game tend to throw comments in here about us being hyperbolic. But think about it. Andrew Ivins has gone on the air and said he thinks he definitely gave you the vibe that Tavian St. Clair is going to have a chance to overtake Bryce Underwood at number 1. They've already got commitments from 3 and 4 and Naeem Offord and Devin Sanchez inverted there. You've got David Sanders, who's 2, and Darkarian Moore, who's up there. So let's talk about him real quick, Bill. There has been some intrigue now that maybe Jamie French is out and Darkarian Moore could be in. Your vibes, and then we will get back to the visitors from the weekend. But I kind of want to get some up to the second vibe on this with the receiver there, Bill.
I don't necessarily feel that way, that Jamie French is out, nor do I feel that Darkarian Moore is necessarily in. I think Darkarian Moore could be in a Buckeye, but I don't think he's in at this point. He hasn't decided 100% for sure and said if he's going to make an official visit to Ohio State. I tend to think that will happen, but he has Ohio State. He's been there twice. He and his mom loved Ohio State. I talked to his mom, MJ, quite a bit about how they're feeling, and they definitely like Ohio State, but right now he's still committed to LSU. I also don't necessarily feel like Jamie French is out. I still think Jamie French is going to make an official visit to Ohio State during the season. And as things are set up right now, that would give Ohio State the last shot, and he would be at a game and all that. I think that's all good. And in fact, I talked to somebody was recently around Jamie French and his family, and I don't agree with it that he is no longer a possibility or out of the class at all. I think he's going to take official visits, and we'll see what happens. Now, having said that, as I posted this morning on Bucknuts, I'm not one of the guys that crystal ball or future forecast or whatever everyone calls their prediction thing. I'm not one of the guys that predicted French to Ohio State. And there's a reason for that, because I'm not 100% sold, or even 99% sold, 98% sold that he's going to end up there. But if you had to ask me right now, based on what I feel like right now, I still think that as I put on my in-out column, I'd have him in right now for Ohio State, and we'll see what happens with the official visits.
We got started a little bit early today, and I don't know if that means the Team Sanchez will or will not be joining us, but in yesterday's chat, Mrs. Sanchez said that she had hung out with Carrie and Moore's mom over the weekend. It was I assume it was track meet time. Shocker, Devin Sanchez and Corey Moore pretty quick. So we'll see if there she is. We'll see if she can check in with some intrigue here. If she didn't hear me, I was talking about how Deidre said she was hanging with the Moores over the weekend. If she wants to check in with a quick blurb on that, that would be great. But we've waited long enough. We'll get back to the visitors, Bill, but I feel like Mark's going to be sunburned before the time we get to him. Mark, bring us up to speed. Where are you? What are you doing? Why are you always out and about so early in the morning?
Yeah, I don't even know where I'm at anymore. I feel like I'm in a repeat of Groundhog Day, where the alarm goes off and that song starts playing, and I just start heading. Yeah, if you've seen that movie, you know exactly what it's like. This is Struthers, Ohio, and if I would have known it was going to be this nice in Struthers, Ohio, I would have moved here 30 years ago. This is a beautiful morning. The morning started at Ursuline, headed to Cheney next, and then Austintown Fitch, and then I finished with a home game at Canfield later in the day. So today's a pretty light day, only 5 schools. Yesterday was 10 schools in Columbus. And yesterday, I could dive into that a little bit. I saw some Buckeye people and some names Buckeye people remember. I went to Westerville North. And if you know Stanley Jackson, the former quarterback at Ohio State, he's doing a great job there. He is bringing in, head coach. And he's doing a great job of getting talent to the school. And you know, I looked over at a running back coach and I said, Jesus, that might be the biggest man I've seen on this whole tour. Who the heck is that? And Beanie Wells is the running back coach. And then I saw Beanie Wells' 7th grade son, who is going to be the heir apparent to the Beanie Wells legacy. So there are a lot of young players there. And earlier in the day, Tom Hoying's son, Jonah Hoying, was working out at Olentangy, and boy, he did a good job. He's a long tight end, 6'5", 210. So we saw some Buckeye legacy players, but we also saw some great players. And Jim Knowles was out on the road yesterday and checking out players. And Tony Alford from Michigan was down checking out players. And Tony Alford's son played at Dublin Jerome last year, and his son was there going around to the tour with them and visiting colleges. So that's, if people don't know what I'm doing, I'm on a college tour, and it's basically out here shaking hands and looking for players and flipping stones, really trying to find the next guy.
I looked at yesterday's schedule when you sent it to me. It started at 6:30 in the morning and it ended after, I think, 6 p.m. Are the same coaches going through the gauntlet here and doing, I mean, you've made almost 50 stops now. Are the same coaches? Yeah. Tell me what's going on.
Yeah, like luckily staffs have multiple guys, so they'll divide up by area. So when I'm in Columbus, I'll see the coaches that are responsible for the Columbus area. And today I'm in Youngstown. And you can see behind me here, there's a bunch of college coaches standing there watching the drills. And it's like a traveling caravan from school to school they'll go. Now, there are guys that will dip off and go to other places for private workouts and then join the tour later. There's guys that'll dip off because maybe there's no academic prospects or no one for them. But for the most part, the caravan goes from school to school. And it's a great opportunity for these high school kids. And even if you're not a college prospect, to be here and be seen and see what these guys are looking for. And, you know, you have a chance to walk up and talk to them after. So it's a win-win for the high school coaches, for the kids, and the college coaches.
Before we move on, just generally speaking, I want to give everyone an understanding of just how tough this is. You've seen a ton of dudes. How many have you seen that you actually think have a chance to get an Ohio State offer, even if you're being aggressive?
Yeah, under 5. And there are some young kids, like I said, Jameer Brown from Wayne, when we were on the last podcast, that I expect him to be an Ohio State caliber kid. I'm going to say this. Yeah, like that. I went to Westerville South yesterday, and on the cover of my book here, we see Tyler Kielmeyer. He was a receiver, 6'5", and, he did a good job, but he's an Ohio State possibility. They're still shopping for a second tight end, and between him and Brody Lemon and Kiddick St. Xavier they worked out the other day, there's a bunch of irons in the fire, and I think the kid at Westerville South did a great job yesterday. If he's not a tight end, he gave me Taylor Decker vibes at offensive tackle. Like, he's probably all of 6'6", and I think his dad is 6'8", but they said he was 6'10". So, there's some big guys standing around. And I got to mention to you guys that I was tapped on the shoulder about 5 times over the past couple of days, and they said, "Hey, Pooba."
Yeah.
And it was podcast followers that kind of were out there busting my nuts a little bit about the name. But I tell you what, we're getting to some people out there. We have some fans that, they came over and said hello, and they're out there watching these events, and parents watch these events. It's a pretty interesting scene out here.
It's an acquired taste, the BM5 with this trio, especially once we went to video with our faces for radio, and me especially. But we have engendered or ingratiated ourselves to a few people.
Hey, Dan.
Go ahead, Bill.
One thing we've learned this morning already is that Struthers, Ohio is now the snowbird capital of the world. we can go to Struthers in the wintertime and be snowbirds.
I don't see that being common, Bill, but yes, if you want to get some bang for your real estate buck and never see the sun, go to Struthers. Go ahead.
I was going to say, for people that really, don't follow me much, I have a book that I go out, and this book is what the college coaches get, and they get this by email or whatever, but I don't think people have ever seen this in, the person form before. But, yeah, it's by high school. There's 1,800 players in here, and I think over the past 2 or 3 days, I've probably added another 200 players that'll be in the next book. That's how many kids I've tapped on the shoulder and said, hey, I need to get you in the system. But you're right, Dan. It's few and far between when we see Ohio State caliber players. The Ohio State coaches are at a bunch of these events, even when there's not an Ohio State prospect.
Exactly.
Jim Knowles was at Marysville yesterday, and that'll be a stop, and they'll be there thanking Marysville for Gabe Powers for years. But these guys stop to build a relationship, shake hands, and every now and then you find a freshman or two that, will be the next guy. Struthers has a nice-looking freshman here I'm looking at. He might not be Ohio State, but he's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't gotten any easier to get an Ohio State offer in the last decade or so. Once Urban took over, the bottom half or the bottom 2 guys in every depth chart no longer was a high academic crew-cutted Ohioan. So they're looking to fill that thing out with some studs. All right, Mark, I'm going to let you go, dude. We appreciate it. Go do your job. Bill, I'm going to read our next ad here, and then you and I are going to talk more recruiting as we are wont to do. If you have any recruiting questions, now is the time to put them in the chat for the dean. We're going to let the Poobah gather some information, and we'll have an unbelievable array of video once Mark gets back and reintroduces himself to his family for a day or so. We will then probably get some results out of that. All right. Bill, you know this. Nothing says summer like the taste of a juicy, tender burger grilled to perfection. And nobody does burger perfection quite like Omaha Steaks. Right now, you can taste burger perfection for yourself with the Burger Perfection Flight. This exclusive package includes 20 of their mouth-watering steak burgers, 4 each of their pure ground filet mignon burgers, New York strip burgers, ribeye burgers, brisket burgers, and sirloin burgers. You'll get all of this deliciousness for just $79.99. That's 20 beefy, juicy steak burgers for just $79.99. Go to omahasteaks.com and order today. Go to omahasteaks.com, like I said, and shop for the Burger Perfection Flight. 20 mouth-watering pure ground burgers for just $79.99. You're going to want to hurry. Supplies are limited. It's been very cool. We're getting some feedback on our steaks, and people who have done it are loving them. So Dave knows I have been I feel like I've left you guys down here and not talked about your other regions in like 10 days. I don't know what you guys are doing. I hope you're keeping clean. Bill, David Sanders was not the only guy here. We had some other very interesting visitors as we kind of piggyback over this. Wanted to get Mark on there. Very interesting to me, Bill, that Nick Saban's retirement is the gift that keeps on giving. Julian Sayin, Caleb Downs, a commitment from Naeem offered in the state of Alabama, then 2 visitors this weekend, big timers from the state of Alabama. I don't even know if any of this will be going on if Tricky Nick was still at the helm. He's not. Let us know who else was here this weekend, and then we will obviously finish with a certain Ohioan who also stopped by.
Well, in addition to, first of all, Dave Biddle, he is the namer of
Correct.
Mark Porter as the Grand Poobah. So we need to give credit there. That Dave, that name has stuck very well. I'm not sure Mark appreciates that, but it has. David Sanders, obviously, we talked about, but the 2 kids from Alabama, one of them was Zion Ziggy Grady, defensive end edge, who is one of the top at his position in the country, high 4-star class of 2025. And then Malik Autrey, a defensive tackle that is committed to Auburn early. He visited Ohio State. And then the other one that visited was more local, Trey McNutt from Shaker Heights. And some of those visits, for instance, in the Sanders case, ran into Sunday afternoon. McNutt, he finished his, it was a one-day visit on Saturday. Autrey, for instance, was still at Ohio State on Sunday morning. But, Dave said he also reminded me, he gave me the name Dean too. So yes, that is true. Very true. Not sure if I'm that great with that either, because that makes me sound too old, which I am. But anyway, back to the guys visiting. Autrey and Grady, they came out of the visits. Actually, we had interviews, features with all of those guys personally, except Sanders, at the latest Sunday late afternoon. All those guys were on our site. I had talked to all of them again, except Sanders. And then we had Sanders. He didn't, that I know of, he doesn't really do interviews, but we had plenty of information on him following up, including Tom Loy's stuff. So I think we had that pretty well covered for the weekend. By the end of their visits on Sunday, Autrey and Grady had official visits set to Ohio State, and the good news is that they are going to be back together on official visits the weekend of June 21st with the Buckeyes. So that is a good thing. Ohio State is very, very realistically in it for both of those guys. Autrey will not be easy, though. He's grown up in the shadow of Auburn, so to speak. He doesn't live far from there. He's been committed there for a while, and they are absolutely working hard to keep him in that class. So it won't be easy, but Ohio State is right there. And a 300-pound run stuffer like him, those guys don't come around every day.
I said this on yesterday's show. The late, great Dwayne Long and I used to sit here and just pray that we could get a plus 300-pounder from below the Mason-Dixon line to come up here, and it never, ever happened. Even when it did, Antoine Jackson came here after stopping at Auburn and junior college, and he didn't materialize. So maybe we were wishing in the wrong places. And I think you're right about Autrey. The little research that I've done since he visited, boy, they really want him at Auburn. And I could see him being very close to the top of their NIL depth chart, as it were. Not every NIL contract was created equal, Bill. You know that. Okay, Trey McNutt. Interesting. Very highly rated safety. You pointed this out to everybody. They're asking why he's only listed as a 4-star on 24/7 Sports. 24/7 Sports 5-stars are built on 32 NFL first-round draft picks. So he'll get up into there eventually. They're at 20 now. Usually, Bill, forgive me if I'm wrong, they usually finish with exactly 32 to kind of round it out.
Yep.
So Trey's on track for that. Is he on track to be a Buckeye?
In my in-out prediction update this morning, I have him in the class. Now, having said that, it's I haven't crystal balled to him to Ohio State because it is not a done deal. He's going to take official visits. In fact, the one thing he is going to release his official visits one at a time. Some of the guys do it. They do them all at the same time. Here are my 4, here are my 5 official visits. Some of them release them individually. Trey is going to release those individually. And in fact, I think you're going to see him release an official visit, one of them sometime this week, or at the latest early next week, he's going to release who one of his official visits will be. I can tell you that he has told me Ohio State will be one of his official visits. So the Buckeyes are going to get their shot, as you would expect. He likes Ohio State. But he's going to go through the process. In addition to talking to Trey himself, I know his dad really well, Richard McNutt, who played for Ohio State and is now on Eddie George's staff at Tennessee State. Matter of fact, the game that I went to see Trey McNutt play this past season, Richard McNutt and Tennessee State had an off weekend that weekend, and Richard McNutt was at that game, and we spent time on the sideline talking together. I spoke again over the weekend with Richard, and he said the same thing. He said Trey is going to do his homework, and he is going to take his official visits. If you have to ask me now, though, what I feel like right now, when those official visits end, I like the Buckeyes' chances.
Let's start knocking down some questions here. Cam St. Prix wants to know, what about the running back from Virginia? I think he means Jeff Overton from, is it Freedom?
He's from Virginia. He's the only running back that they're really recruiting in Virginia, so that's got to be the guy he's talking about. Jeff Overton has an official visit set to Ohio State. I would not put him in the class right now, but I don't think that's out of the question at all because he does have an official visit set. But right now, the 2 guys I have in there are Jordan Davidson from California and then Bo Jackson from Ohio. But Overton is got to be the guy that he's referring to. And go ahead, Dan.
No, I just think it'd be very interesting because it's Tony Alford is going to go after Bo Jackson pretty hard. So you're going to get a Tony Alford, Carlos Lachlan slugfest there for Bo Jackson.
And you are right, Dan, too. He is from I didn't answer that part. He is from Freedom, Virginia, and Woodbridge High School.
Yeah. I think it's Freedom High School in
Woodbridge,
Virginia. That's all right.
Freedom High School and
that
Woodbridge,
area. That's
Virginia.
actually, believe it or not, that's the first area I started being a sports writer for $40 a story. And I once got an $80 speeding ticket going to turn in my story. I literally looked in my rearview mirror and thought I should just turn around, and I didn't. And look where I am now. Very interesting to see how it works out. Because a lot of the running, this is actually what I want to talk about, Bill. Every time I turn on my computer, Carlos Lachlan has offered another running back. What's going on? Is this, he really has offered, I think, is it 8 guys since he's been here? Is that, I sound like I'm exaggerating.
I think I've lost count, but I think you're about right.
I've never seen anything like it. And yet we do still seem comfortable with the top 2. Can you try and explain to me what's going on here? Is this just his style? Is it a case where, the running back market, you really want to feel like you have in triplicate safety nets? Bring me up to speed here.
Some of those guys, too, are 2026 running backs.
I get it, but still, it's a ton, don't you think?
He's offering a lot of guys. He's casting a wide net, and there's nothing wrong with that. what if you don't? What if you don't get Jordan Davidson? And again, I like Ohio State's chances. What if you don't get Bo Jackson? You better have another plan in mind as to go to, and he does. Shakai Mills-Knight certainly likes Ohio State a lot. Byron Lewis is making an official visit to Ohio State. So he's Jeff Overton we talked about already. So, he's not putting all his eggs in one basket. That's a good thing. And then he's also working ahead on 2026. He hasn't been at Ohio State very long, but he's putting in the work for sure. And he's getting Ohio State possibilities lined up.
Oh, they're all good guys too. I mean, there's no shortage of guys on Friday nights, running backs in the United States, you go out there and just dazzle the eye. So, I mean, there's plenty of them in there. Nickname time. Big Toe, I don't think will go. Although I will say I was just making my youngest watch the scene in Stripes where everyone introduces himself with Sergeant Hulka, who is our bestest buddy in Big Toe. But anyway, we'll finish with this. Fahim Delane from the wonderful DMV area, Good Counsel High School. If he's not the best safety in the country, he's one of them. Where do you see them with Fahim Delane?
I like Ohio State's chances right now. Again, not a done deal. I mean, kids they have official visits set, and he has official visits set to Ohio State June 7th, if I recollect properly. He's going to make an official visit to Oregon. Got one set to LSU, Maryland. So he's going to take his official visits. But when the carousel stops, again, if you ask me right now, and I say right now because recruiting changes daily in some cases, hourly in some cases. If you had to ask me right now, I would say Fahim Delane would be a Buckeye.
So I'll leave you guys with this. It does seem like 2025 and 2026 are going to be amazing classes for Ohio State. If you want to have some fun, go check out, the top 50 or so recruits in each class and look how many guys they are in it for. I counted 8 guys in 2025 with Carter Lowe being ranked 33rd in the top 33 that I think they can really reasonably get. So things are good. And we have the guy who will be on it for you all the time. The Dean, we've got the Grand Poobah on the road. I have not yet agreed to a nickname, and neither has Dave. But we will get you up to speed on that. Hope everyone's having a great day. Have a good one. Bucknutters.